Welcome to the Heretic magazine featured artist. We're absolutely delighted to have Patrice Chaplin with us to kick off our debut issue of the Heretic. And Patrice has just released a fabulous new book that we'll be talking about, Mr. Lazarus. But she's been writing bestsellers and fascinating books for decades now. So many of her films, one in particular was made into a Hollywood film starring Isabella Rossellini and Jodie Foster. So she's no stranger to fame, and in recent years she has brought a different kind of fame to her writing, and that's one that is more really focused on the mysteries. So that's what we're going to talk about. And Patrice, welcome to the Heretic.
It's nice to be here.
Listen, I want to dive right in, and I'm going to show the viewers a picture of your new book, which is an e-book, Mr. Lazarus. Tell us, how did you get to the point where you're writing about a subject matter like Mr. Lazarus? Because it's evocative, it's rituals of bringing people back from the dead, it has the magic of music. How did you find yourself here?
In this book, with quite a lot of difficulty, and I didn't think I would ever bring this book out. This came in between The City of Secrets and The Portal, and I thought it was a story that had to be, it was so incredible that it had to be written and had to be recorded, noted. So I put a lot of notes about the book, never really thinking I would have the courage to actually release it. And then I found, because all the books are about this subject, Mr. Lazarus is really the one in between. They're non-fiction, you know? So I used fiction a lot in Mr. Lazarus, so I had more space to tell a true story. So I wasn't restricted by the possibility of some comeback from the story.
Well, did it also allow you to protect some of the personalities that you're writing about?
Hopefully, yes. Mm-hmm.
And so you reference a lot the fact that it's a dangerous book, and it's a story that was dangerous to tell. What about it made it so?
Because people involved in the story discovered music which had never been heard before and used it in a way which empowered them and allowed them to go out of the box of space and time we know. So it was a gift they had, but at the same time it was not one they should release, really. That was the whole point about it. So that the person who was obsessed about this music from beyond space and time, which was reached through the portal, that was how it came to be. He was a mid-European, brilliant composer and musician. And I've well disguised him. I got the story from two Russians. They're both eminent in the field of music. One is now dead. And the understanding that I would never come out with this as a piece of exploration or adventure for people to go after. And the thing really is that it's not meant for people to use it. It wouldn't be, unless you've really been initiated and on quite a strong, high level of involvement. No, that would not. It wouldn't be wise. And the thing too with the musician composer who discovered all this material, he went too far. He had no fear. One of the things about going through portals is that people come back from the experience and they don't have fear. They're fearless. They're cut loose. They don't wear life so tight, you know. And this man, he was charismatic, brilliant. he was right at the start of his career. He'd been playing the violin in churches in Prague. I mean, he was making a buck here and there, or whatever you made of in Prague. And suddenly he got this music, he wrote this music, he'd always been after it. And he played it, and it was phenomenal. And it was suppressed. And it was quite a scandal deluxe about that. Now, what he wanted to do is he wanted to get more. He was fascinated by what happened on Perpignan Station. Because Perpignan Station had the key to a lot of this music. It was to do with a cult there that raised the dead, virtually.
So that's a major statement, and I want to talk about that.
Well, can I just say that this guy died?
He died.
He died because to finish his story, was he went to New York where he was going to put the opus out that he'd got, and he went to Gramercy Park, which you might know, Gramercy Park, New York, and stayed in a hotel, the Gramercy Park Hotel, and he did a lot of the replicating of portals and going through into other spaces other times. He went too far, couldn't get back to his body, had a stroke, dead. And they covered it up. That was the whole thing. And who had the music? That was the other thing. Yeah? And then enter a girl who worked at a corporation which did a lot of recording. And she saw him on a television program, fell in love with him, and she had a very quiet, quite introvert, reserved life. She wasn't really in the present time, and perhaps that's the way to describe her. I knew her. She was an amazing girl. And she went after him, and she got to the one concert he had of this music, and she became totally in love with him, and they were going to meet in New York. And she didn't know he was dead because no one said anything about it. I'm not going to say much about it because it's going to kill off the story.
It's going to kill off the story, but
yeah.
Let me just take you back for a moment to Perpignan Station. What is it about Perpignan Station that's so infamous? I mean, you mentioned that to people in the esoteric genre, they immediately think of Salvador Dali.
Yeah, that's exactly where I got some of this from, because in 1964 and 65, I was down in Cadiz with my then husband, and we stayed in Port Legat, where he had his place.
This is in Catalan, of course.
In Catalonia. And he didn't trust the Spanish post to send his pictures off to New York. So he went always to Perpignan Station, which in those days, in the mid-60s, you had to, have quite a long drive there. The roads were very curvy to get out of that area, to get out of Port Legat, Cadiz. You had to go over to Figueras, and then you went up to Perpignan Station. It was a big deal. And he used to go and send his stuff to the art buyers, like in New York, because he spent a lot of time in New York in the winters, he had to go over there. So the pictures were taken from Perpignan Station. Now, one day when it was in 64, in the sort of late summer, autumn, as I remember, he came back from the station when I was there with my husband Michael, and he had a most extraordinary experience, which didn't look as though it had done him any good, frankly. He was very shocked. He was kind of very quiet. I didn't know him. I was there, I knew him, but I didn't know him very well. I didn't know then he was an initiate, My ex-husband knew him much better. So did other people around. They knew this man, he was an initiate in the Catalan journey of the 11 sites, right? But he went to bed. He was all shocked, and it said later he had passed through into another space and time, and it was to do with the mountain, Mount Canigou, the sacred mountain of the Catalans, and that when he was on the station, he'd sort of tripped into this space and time, which he could have gone endlessly into. And he saw all these happenings that had gone on the platform, which makes me kind of shiver when I think about it, because the way he described it was more powerful in a way than what was painted. And he did the painting then of Perpignan Station of a man going through a portal. And then you see the train behind him, and I've got a picture of it somewhere. Shall I show it?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's only a card. I mean, there we have the. Yeah. So that incident, it caused him then to say Perpignan Station is the centre of the universe, and nobody knows it. That's where we are.
But you go even further than that in Mr. Lazarus and talk about other elements of significance about that station, of
Yes, exactly.
what occurred there. And it's really quite, well, it appears quite dark. It feels quite dark.
Well, the girl who met the musician composer, she had previously gone to Perpignan Station because she was working with a producer who was looking for a portal. She'd been told there was another time space element.
What sort of year is this approximately?
We're going back in the 70s with that one.
1970s.
And then she met a station worker who was there on working on Perpignan Station, who took her to his house, which was nearby, which has now been, those houses are destroyed. It was a house where he'd always worked, his family had worked on that station, and she was looking for what she wanted to do in life, and she wanted something which was uniquely for her. And it was interesting because he told her about the station and what happened with his grandfather when a priest came to the platform at the time of the new, or the old Celtic New Year, and then for several days trains would come in, and the priest would give a ritual ceremony.
Trains would come in, and what was it?
From different parts of Europe. You know, they'd come in from Germany or Belgium, and a coffin, not all at once. I mean, one train would come in on one day, and then this coffin would be lifted out, and the priest would perform a ceremony which wasn't the last rites. And it seemed to the station workers that this was quite impossible, what was happening. And this is the story he told the girl, the woman. And she then used this to try and make a film, and coincidentally, it interested the musician very much because he was involved in the Knights Templar. And this also is it had something to do with that time, with the priest in Rennes-le-Château. And
so this story,
it's about the rituals.
Just so it's really clear to the viewers, Happy Hour, City of Secrets, The Portal, those are all, I call them the trilogy of secrets when I present with yourself and we talk about your experiences. This is also a novel for Rennes-le-Château enthusiasts, because it does, in fact, feature Rennes-le-Château's famous priest. And an element of the story which is really, I think, very popular and well thought out these days, and that is perhaps the source of the priest's wealth was his performing these rituals for the care of the soul or even the deceased.
I don't know. But I know that what the station worker told her was a secret that they had to keep in Perpignan for a very long time, because it wasn't something that anyone really wanted to talk about or admit that this had happened there. Some money had passed around the workers to buy a drink, and it should be forgotten. But the thing which was the key to all of this, it comes out more and more in the book, is sound and its notes that occur throughout this story. And both she, because she worked for radio, she was dealing with sound, and the composer, musician, they were dealing with sound, and the people back in the past were dealing with a sound like a chime, which was F sharp, and it produced an opening in the experience, the resonance of every day. I guess if we had an F sharp played here, we wouldn't all be tumbling into portals, But
I don't think that noise was an F sharp.
No,
in the background.
no, nor do I. Well, I know, I'm sure it isn't. But the sound used in the right way, at the right level and the right vibration, can cause a huge change, much more. I think sound was the thing, what they were doing and what they were using. And you could ascend Jacob's ladder, which came into it as well, which is talked about. So the book is a faction book, i.e. it's fiction and non-fiction, and it has much more in the story than one could have had if I'd have told it directly as it was, which I couldn't have done anyway, because it was prohibited, and I think, I understand the reasons for that. So I think if one reads it, people who read it, they have a very strong effect from having read it. I don't know many people who haven't had quite a strong effect of another reality, another mood, another time. So it's actually within the story that you get the move towards this transformation.
What Patrice did in City of Secrets, of course, was reveal for the first time that the mystery of Rennes-le-Château, this priest who in 1891 appears to have discovered a great heretical secret in his church, and that secret brought him money one way or another. Dozens and if not hundreds of books have been written about this. The story was the inspiration for the Da Vinci Code, but Patrice's work has revealed that the origins of the story could very well have been not in Rennes-le-Château at all, but in Girona, where the priest was traveling to spend time with a French woman who had originally come from near Rennes-le-Château, but was now living in Girona in Catalan. And the relationship between the priest and her, and the origins of the mystery, namely the tower, the Tour Magdala, which appears to be a copy of the tower in Girona. And now Patrice has more evidence that some of the artifacts that we know from Rennes-le-Château may have originated, may be in fact copies of what was earlier in Girona. So Patrice, I want to talk about another aspect of your research, and it just seems that wherever you go, I think it's the fact that you're always so prepared, but mysteries seem to unravel around you, and as I understand it, this has happened just recently on your last trip, in fact your last tour of Girona. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened and what you discovered?
Yeah, okay. Well, Girona is number one in the 11 sites in Catalonia which take the initiate or the student through to the portal of Mount Canigou. So it's relevant to Mr. Lazarus.
As you wrote about in the book.
Yeah,
the portal.
yeah. So we have people who wanted to go and experience this themselves. They want to experience the focusing, the attunement, the absorption, the actual transforming and moving through resonances and having pretty big experiences, you know. And the last one I did was, I did one with Arnie Williams, and the last one was with Kathleen McGowan and Philip Coppins. And Kathleen said about Girona that it was, you know, city of secrets. It couldn't be better named. It was constantly shedding levels of protection around this place and revealing stuff to us which we couldn't have imagined could happen or be in existence. And one of the things was the Mary Magdalene altarpiece from Rennes-le-Château. I mean, we have two towers. We have the one in Rennes-le-Château, and we had the one in Girona. And we had Saunier, the priest, coming to Girona to get the measurements and the exact energies of that tower to replicate them in Rennes-le-Château. Now we have suddenly, out of nowhere, comes an altarpiece, a photograph of an altarpiece which had been in the wall of the house in Girona.
In the French woman's garden.
In the French.
The same image that Saunier himself painted and created and put in the church in Rennes-le-Château when he renovated it.
That's what Kathleen said. But it had been in this house, and they showed, it's not so much what comes up, but who actually brings these things, that one gets a sense of where we're going with it. So we were given, each of us, a copy of this and shown where it was in the French woman's house. And there's no question that in the view of the people who gave it, and in my view indeed, it couldn't have been given without a reason, what was the point of this gift, of this sudden news. And also letters from Maria, who
Can you show us some?
Yeah, I mean there's letters. I mean I can read a small bit, I guess, because her letters that she wrote to somebody in Girona who was very special to her. And she just says...
Please do. And approximately what year is this?
This would be 1962. And she went to Paris, or even 63, to her flat. She had an apartment, in fact, where she died. As far as I know, she never came back to Girona. But she was aware that what she called El Americano was trying to tear down her house and use it to find things, right? So she wrote to the mayor and she said, you know, excuse me that I haven't replied to your letters, but I have a very bad pain in my right arm, which upsets me greatly. But it is nothing compared with the news, the idea that I am going to have to lose my beloved garden. I'd always hoped and understood that I would spend my last years in Girona and conclude my life here. My beautiful Girona, so beautiful and full of memories of my youth, which have been so happy. And then she goes on to talk about this offer that had been made to her, which she wouldn't accept. And so these are letters which are they
quite late in her life. Clearly.
These are late in her life,
yeah.
And there are ones that mention the visit from the priest. And she married in the meantime someone who had a special work, the Vatican, which would seem like the total wrong choice if she was seeing the French priest.
Well, and then this letter was written some 45 years after the death of...
Because they always said things were hidden in the
Yeah.
stones. The stones were hollowed out. So things were kept in those stones, which whoever tore the house down between a day and a night got whatever was there.
So we have new letters from the French woman to various people in Girona and beyond, and new evidence that perhaps Girona was the precursor to many of the icons, the tower and the altar fresco that we see in Rennes-le-Château.
That's the question now, isn't it? There's the garden, there she sits. I mean, she's a woman of mystery, isn't she? She figures a lot in everything. And yet, a woman like her, the mystery about her is how could she live in a town like Girona on her own in the care of a gardener, and with a priest coming visiting her. It's unlikely that she would have, but she did it. And then she married this man here, Roger Mathieu, and he was a lot older than her. And then he died. And there was a priest sitting there, but we don't know who that priest is. I mean, there are a lot of priests.
And some artifact that's in this pillar that she is gazing upon. So what's so special about that?
Well, that's called a Ventana Gotica, and it's
this is right here.
Yeah, in the garden. And
but this bit that's lying there, that's not there today, is it?
I don't.
No,
Oh, no.
no. So that and she appears to be staring at that, which is laid so thoughtfully. On that block of stone. Very interesting.
He's sitting there on the edge. I mean, it's quite a dramatic picture because he's not relating to them, is he?
No, not at all. Music is a big part of the impetus for this, and that brings us to an opportunity to introduce another guest to the show, and I'd like to introduce a gentleman. Malcolm Bruce, who is the son of a very famous bass player from the legendary band Cream. But Malcolm is, like his father, a very renowned artist of his generation, and he plays all over the world with the world's top musicians. And I'd like to invite Malcolm to talk to Patrice about the really peculiar and powerful nature of music, and particularly the note F sharp. So, Malcolm, please join us.
Hi, Malcolm. Hi, nice to see you.
Nice
The F sharp has been used a lot in this book, Mr. Lazarus, and apparently it has a special meaning, or did have. F sharp.
Well, I think the interval between C and F sharp had a particular meaning, certainly in the Middle Ages. It was an interval that was sort of avoided or frowned upon in certain kinds of music.
Why was that?
I don't know. I mean, it was called the Devil's Chord, I believe.
It made people very agitated or very high, apparently.
Well, it's a dissonance. It's a chromaticism. So it doesn't have a sense of rest. It perhaps has a sense of being worked up or something along those lines.
But was it forbidden, or was it considered heretical? To.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Because some people use it in music, which is goes way above into other spheres, and in religious music, don't they? They use this F sharp to do the most sublime music. And I'm thinking of the French composer who did those amazing.
Debussy?
No, the one who did a lot of religious.
Oh, Messiaen.
Messiaen, Olivier Messiaen. He used F sharp in his most supreme music. Yeah. Also, you see, in this work, F sharp comes up a lot as the note which is emitted from a portal. They all have sounds. Many we can't hear. It's like a dog can hear things we can't hear. So some of them are very wide notes, and others are very acute high notes. And also, it has a part in the initiates' meditation and their practice are these notes.
I know you've talked about how the patterns are formed through that vibration, specifically that are seen within structures, within architecture and various things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think there's a vibrational pattern within certain notes. And I like what you said before about finding ways to slip through this, what we call normal reality, and going into a higher state or going into another place.
Mm-hmm.
I think, obviously music has the ability to transport us somewhere else.
That's right.
And heal.
That's why because this music in Mr. Lazarus apparently was in the hands of the Templars, and de Molay was a part of this. He was beheaded, I believe, in Paris. But do you feel that music, is an aid to meditation?
I wouldn't necessarily say music is an aid to meditation, but I think, my experience of meditation using a mantra, for instance, which is a vibrational state within the body, within the nervous system, so that the nervous system can settle and refine itself and then experience higher states of consciousness. So I think music can inherit that aspect, but it's more, for me, it's more the experience of a vibrational state that can settle everything, and then through the clarity that comes through that settled state, that things could be seen in a clearer light. It can be seen that it's basically a holographic universe open to intention.
That sounds good.
Well, fantastic. Listen, I'd like to thank our very, very special guest, Patrice Chaplin, and Malcolm Bruce for a very fascinating discussion. Patrice Chaplin's new book, Mr. Lazarus, which you can purchase at www.mrlazarus.com. And do look for Malcolm Bruce. He tours the world. Look for him in a town near you. And we look forward to seeing you again at the Heretic. Thank you very much. Until next time. So when are you going back to Girona? When's the next trip?
Oh, that's September.
September. Yeah, it's been like 3 years since I was there with you, hasn't it? I think so.
Yes.
I need to come on one of these.
You're going to come
these
on
tours
September.
these days. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.